Good morning to everyone. So, I'm Academic Counselor of IGNI, H. Biswas. So, again, today is the Strategic Management, MNPC 012, block number 2. So, today I have to discuss about the uh, unit number 3, unit 4 and 5. Just I've highlighted the things. So, block number 1, unit 3, that is a strategy in global context. Then after that, I will discuss about the unit number 4, which is block number 2, part of your pertaining to block number 2. That is the external environmental analysis, and unit number 5, that is your competitive analysis. So these 3 units I have to discuss. The structure of this session is first I have to give you some unit contents. Then after that I have to give you some of the definitions, different laws, and some of the features. This is the way I have to proceed. So unit number 3, where actually basically you have to see your different forces. What are the different forces in the global contents? Especially when we are talking about the global market. And the business environment, basically it is highly dynamic because it is highly dynamic. So within the situations, what are the things have to be noted, and what are the why it is important, that we have to see. So different, basically the variables, what are the variables are there? That is your, all the variables are not permanently constant because it is a dynamic, highly dynamic. So because of that, we have to analyze the part things, and different circumstances are there. So basically, the global environment, which is actually includes, is the business environments in the various nations is different. So we have to see the other nations' environment conditions and understand the environment of their operating locations, where the that strategy you have to take it before start the business in their locations. So that nation's environment is very crucial. It needs a in-depth analysis of the business environment. So in depth you have to study these things. So basically the analysis, the important is the analysis where we have to identify the things. Then screening and scanning is required, and monitoring the things where the changes are going on, the environmental factors I have to identify. Then determinant and the determinant of the strategic alternatives. What are the alternatives are to be defined. So there are so many analysis parts there. As you see, I have to insert the pastel analysis. There are so many other analyses also there. ERPG framework, within this framework, and finally you have to see the global supply chain and competitiveness. So unit number 3, this is the structure of these units. Now go one by one to understand the things. First things, different forces creates an environmental as a business, as I say, and so many factors are there. And as I said, all the things are very dynamic, and so that's why you have to understand and learning the business environment and what are the factors we have to identify. And after that, we have to calculate or have to exercise the different alternatives, finding basically. Then you have to take the decisions. What is the need for these things? Because going international means the crossing the domestic borders to establish a market interest and the operations from your home nations to shape a organizations into a global organizations. So manager needs to develop the global mindset. So that is important. I highlighted the things. The global mindset has to be required. So managing a global enterprise also entails your problems of the overcoming the trade barriers, logistic cost, and your cultural diversity. These all are the barriers, and that you have to overcome. Now, business environment includes basically the internal and external factors. After that, we have to see what are the internal and external factors are there. So basically, there are two factors are influenced in your business environment. It comprises of all the internal as well as your external factors affecting an organization. So global business, it involves the operation of the business activities is more than one nation. Because when you are discussing or when you are thinking about the global business, so it may be different countries or nations. Now coming to internal environment. So internal environment, first things, asset and liabilities that has to identify the organizations come under the internal environments. Because where we are now, that you have to assist. You have to assist your assessment, and you have to obtain what are the assets we have, and what are the liabilities, debt, or whatever the things are there. That has to, we have to calculate. So organizations can have a competitive advantage in internal markets based on these unique sources of capabilities. So competitive advantage in the market only we can achieve when the assessment will be transparent and assessment will be clear. So where we are now. Now external environment. External environment, from there actually we can understand what are the threats and what are the opportunities that we can understand. Because it includes the internal and external factors, which are the things. So it may threats and opportunities for an organization. So external environment also includes the industry environment and macro environment factors also. Apart from that, your threats and opportunities, these things are also included. Your industry environment also. Suppose your parallel competitors, new entities, or what are the existing business are there, which are the company's conditions, what their market share. So anything are you have to see in the macro levels. So it is important for any organizations to assess its external environment, measure its impact, and adapt to the changes, and consistently monitor the situation to sustain the international market. Because it is a very tough job, very complex. Because to sustain in the international market, so all these aspects, all these are to be considered. Then only you can have a new path, new innovations, new strategy. So strategy has to be changes because depending on the circumstances. Environmental analysis in the global. Now we are talking about the analysis. So far we have now understand that is the internal and external, what are the factors that we have now. So now we have to see how to analyze the things and why it is important. So global environmental analysis involves scanning the different environments of different nations before preparing a strategy. But until and unless we don't know about the nation's environment in the sense there are the legals, their weather, their economy, so everything are included. So in totality, we have to see how far. So before any strategy, so we have to understand and we have to clear all the inputs are required. So international business has a necessity to assess the requirement of the international markets in order to gain the competitive advantage. So various methods for analyzing, there are some of the analyses are there very famous and very effectively multinational companies are doing. That is one of the your SWOT analysis is WOT, BCG and consultings, value chain analysis, Porter's 5 force model, McKinsey's 7 models, and Pistol's analysis. There are different, so many, a lot popular analysis methods are there. So out of that, there are 2, 3 analysis that I have to discuss with you. Let's see the environmental analysis process. So this is the analysis for the business environment, including that figure is given process. First thing, your factor identifications. That is important. So we have to identify the identifications, where your political, economical, legal, social cultures, technological, all the things that inputs you have to do. It is the initial stages. Then after that, factor selections. What are the factors that you have to select? It's relevant factors that you have to think. Yes, these factors are relevant. Those factors are not relevant. You just try to remove the things. Then variable analysis. What are the variables that you have to analyze it? You have to measure it. Select the variables for the measuring the factors. Then it can be justified. All the factors can be justified, and basic idea can be achievable. Then strategy, positioning. Now after that, the position is determining the position based on the strength, weakness, threat, and opportunity. As I say, there is a SWOT analysis. Based on this, where you are now, your position can be defined. So that is basically the process of your analysis process, environmental process. Now, coming to another analysis, that is your Pistol's analysis. Basically, it is a short form of in the green color. You see, I highlighted what is the full form of Pistol's. That is a political, economic, social, technological, legal, and environment. In short, it is a Pistol analysis. So when we are talking about the Pistol analysis, means it includes, is pertaining to political, economic, social, technological, legal. So all these environment factors we have to assess it, and that factors has to be noted in the context of the foreign markets. So Pistol analysis becomes more essential in case of international business, as a manager needs to analyze the different factors prevailing in different nations at a given point of time. We have to share it. There are 3 steps involved in conducting a Pistol analysis. There are 3 steps that we have to see what are the steps of theirs to conduct the things. First step, it involves considering the factors which are relevant to the organization. That already you have discussed. So there are so many factors. In the process also you have seen, in the process structures, that you have to identify the relevant factors. There are maybe so many factors, but we have to pick up the relevant factors. Now next steps is concerned with identifying the informations which can give a clear picture about the relevant factors. Now all these relevant factors, now we have to see their informations. So that is the next stage. Means we have to go on in depth. Then final steps really involve the analysis. Whatever the data and the drawing, what are the data we have drawn. So that thing in conclusions, selected informations. So we have to there is a final stage to analyze the data. Then now this is another analysis there. Various analysis under the Pistol analysis. Basically, you see there are political, economical, social, technological environment is given. So already I have discussed what are the Pistols are, the formation of these things. Now, again the same thing, the same slides. I mean, now it is in the blockwise, now it is in the written. So we have to repeat the things. So better now we have to see the alternatives. Now Environmental analysis, after this, we have to achieve some of the alternatives. So the manager needs to develop the strategic alternatives for the making a business global. So whatever the alternatives, it is required to be further scrutinized and see is uh, some sort of hypothesis. You have to do some hypothesis. It is feasible or not. It is a null hypothesis or alternate. So that you have to identify. Then accordingly you have to decide the business goal. We can decide the business goals. So three major strategies there. One is your multi-domestics, global, and transnationals. That we have to see. So there are three strategies that are internationally. So now how to entering in the market. So entering in the global market is important. The first steps for entering the global market is to choose the mode of entry. What the way you have to take it. You have to exporting or licensing, franchising, alliances. What the way. So different lot of modes are there. You can export the things, that is the way also you can enter in the market, or licensing something to the other companies, franchises or alliances, merger, acquisition, what the way, joint ventures, or some things your FDI, that is a direct investment. This is the way also you can enter. So that mode of entering has to be decided. Again, depending on all the situations, consider all the situations. So licensing is the least risks, normally the options where organizations can offer their technology to other vendors in foreigners. So licensing is very easy. There is no hurdles. There are no hardships. Very easy way. You can enter it. Now, EPRG framework is another way of analysis. There are four strategic orientations, which an organizations can adopt for the managing its international business. One is your ethnocentric approach, polycentric approach, geocentric approach, and geocentric approach. There are different approach systems out there in the framework. Now, we have to discuss about the first supply chains, global supply chains and the competitiveness. Global operations involve a highly coordinated international flow of goods, that is information, cash, and work process. Successful companies recognize that consistently providing superior value of customers is critical to long-term competitive success. Means to sustain sustainability point of view, if we want to remain in the market or retain the things, then definitely we have to customer-centric value we have to see, we have to, so that superior value to the customers. Customers can always engage and they can attract always. Logistics is also act as a pivotal coordinations in the mechanisms, because logistics timely deliver the things. So what the way you are delivering the things, that is also important, and definitely. So that is the mechanisms coordination. Lot of coordinations are required in the logistics. This is helping the firms geographically manage the dispersed global operations. So logistics is another in the supply chain part, one of the things. Then only you can have a better competitive. You can give a value of the customers and the competitiveness. Then some of the keywords are there: internationalizations. Then it provides the framework. Exporting, what is the meaning of exporting? To sell the domestically your product goods in a foreign country. Licensing means it involves the adopting the technical knowledge and tangible and intangible assets as a licensing fee. This is the way. Some of the key words are there in this. And some assessment questions are there. Distinguish between the global environments and the domestic environment. This type of questions. You can tabulate it or you can write it. Differentiate between the external environment and the internal environment. That is also, you can, as a tabular form, you can also describe. Explain the external environment analysis and some recent examples also we have to do. Describe the EPRG framework with respect to global business or Pestel's analysis also. So this is some of the assignment questions. Now we have to proceed for next unit. This is the external environment analysis. Now you have to go for external analysis. In this unit, basically you have to, what are the things have to be, we have to go through this. Then here actually you see we have to first economic conditions, politicals, legal, then your demographic, all these part are important. You have to see the external. This is a part of your external environment, basically. And then external environment, it influences on their success and the failure, because what are the failure or success fully depend on your external environment and how best you are analyzing things. So from your entry points to execution, productions, everything are, it will totally influence in your success in the failure in the international. And in your external environment, another thing, it will give you some of the idea what are the threats are there in the markets internationally, and what type of opportunities that also you can think. So it's a part of your external environment where we can get it very easily. What are the threats and the opportunities. Weakness and strength from the internal environment, because it is within the company itself, the organization itself, where you are now, your internal conditions, that is part of the internal. But externally, as per the SWOT analysis, SWOT, so strength and weakness, first two words you can see, that is strength and weakness from the internal, and your threats and the opportunity are from your, you can get it from external environment analysis. So capture the opportunities and avoid the emerging threats. That is important. So first things you have to capture the things, and you have to find out what are the threats. Changes in the environment affect the attractiveness, because if any change is going on, it may anything, it may economical conditions, exchange rate high, or maybe international economic conditions, as we see now globally, we can, lot of changes are going on based on these share markets are up and down. These are all the changes are doing. So that things, if we maintain the things, it should be attractive. Then only you can have it. You can run the business there itself. So, and accordingly, the various investment will come also. So investment is also fully depend on what the changes is going on in the environment. If the changes are negative side, investment will be slow down, reduce it. If the environment is good, it is a good environment, all the things are positive, then definitely investment also will be more. So it is a general phenomena. So again, there are some levels are there. First levels, you have to understand the macroeconomy. Then first, another thing is you have to assess the things from the external environment, assess the things, then analyze the things, what are externally, what are the informations are external information that you have to gather as early as possible, and very transparent way or very accuracy is also important. When you are to information or try to achieve, that should be very, accuracy is also very important. Understand the industrial organizational model, that is also important. You have to understand what are the international models are also there. So all these things part in the unit number 4 that we have to now see one by one. I'm just giving you what are the outline of this particular external environment, and then the interest. Now go to in a very comprehensive way, that is to see introductions. So where the external business includes already economic, political, legal, demographic, social, competitive, rural, and the technological sectors. So this is all. Actually, why I am trying to sometimes I am repeating, because first things you have to clear the concept of the particular unit, outline of the unit. Then you have categorically you have to go in deep, so that in the exam time you can write what exactly the answer should be. So that is the idea. If somebody says what is the introduction of the external environment, so then this includes. So that you have to expand it and you have to write some things based on this. Then you have to say the external environment is dynamic and changing. As I said, it is always dynamic. Variables are not constants. The first level of the external analysis, understanding of the macro environment, has an influence of the success of the failure of the organization strategies. So if we something misunderstanding, that your concept is not clear, database is not prepared exactly, that definitely you have to leads to the failure. So that's why to make it success, so you have to be very careful about the analysis parts. You have to understand the things. So macro environment is you have to understand that very critically. You have to see it. So now manager, what are basically the managers should understand. Here manager means middle levels, top management, manager, any manager who is managing the things basically. So what are the environment and the analysis, the kind of impact on their business? So that is very important. As a manager, you have to know it. So your demographic profile of India, because we have enough advantages there, because we have a more younger generations around 15 years to 35, at least fully globally you can see around the workforce. Other way I can say 30 to 40% workforce are from the Indian. So that way we have a very demographic profile are very good. We are all are younger. So adverse effect in healthcare sectors, that is we have to understand the things, because as we have seen in the past, the COVID pandemic has a major impact on the business. So keeping in view of that things, the healthcare sections are to be improved more, so that that type of situations we can handle it. Any contingency is required, that we can challenge the things. So we have to prepare for that. Another manager must see the impact any single change in the market. As a manager, as a monitor, what are the impacts within the market? So before deciding any strategy, so all these aspects are to be considered. Healthcare sectors, mostly you see, so that they have changed a lot of strategies. They have changed. That's why the flexible timings, online, offline work from home, all this concept has developed because of this commitment. As we know, everybody knows. Structural drivers of change, which have the likely effect on the structure of an industry and the competitive environment. We can see. So increasing the globalizations and the internet are affecting the structure of the industries and the environment. That is also one of the major area we have to look after, we have to see, we have to be careful about it. The changes, global changes, what are the affecting, what are the influence by the internet, and In future, you can see that is artificial AI. Definitely, the structure will be this will be changed. Maybe a lot of structural changes are required within a few years because that type of technology has come in. Earlier, we had seen the computer, then mobile. Now you see your AI. That instruments, that technology and mechanisms we have to adapt as early as possible. Then only we can survive or you can have a good strategy, you can take it based on these tools. So that environment, industrial environment are drastically changing very fast. It is beyond our estimation because people of 5 to 10 years it's required. But now, before 2 years, before also, nobody has understand the AI. Okay, chat box and all these things, chat GPT. This is just anything. Now you see, within 2 years, which are earlier expected maybe will take 5 to 10 years, but now you see how the changes is going on, revolutions, and maybe coming 1 2 years we can have a see lot of changes. So that's why the global competitions are now more and more difficult, very complex natures. Now, process for analyzing the external environment. So now we have to come in for the process, how to process the things. First, there are so many steps of this, how to analyze the things. Environmental scanning, one of the first thing you have to scan the things. Because scanning is the very initial stage of your any analysis, you have to scan it. And the frequency of scanning or your resolution of the scanning, it is another issues, another things. What type of technology you are utilizing for your survey or tools and tackles, what are the things you are utilizing, how best analysis you are calculating, that is different aspect. Second things, your assimilations or the absorptions. Now we have to see where the relevant part is there and what are the absorptions you have to adopt things. Then finally your evaluations. Through there you can get a feedback and a conclusion, you can conclude the things. So this is the 3 steps of this. Scanning, basically, as I said, is studying and interpreting the development of the systems. Then your external environment, your economic, political, legal, pollutions and sustainability is all a part of your external environment. And your industrial organization models, your IO model steps, then your external environment, industry features, key sources, the model shows. There are some of your models. Now here are some of the industrial organizations models which are really required. From there we can assess the things, the opportunities and threats, and as well as your strengths and weakness. So first things, the external environment, then your industry selections, then based on these, which type of industry you want, that you can select it. Then your formulations, you can make your formulation strategy formulations. Then finally the resource of the development and your implementations. Then your competitive advantage. So this is one of the flowcharts given. And what are the achievement, what are the target, this I can, from this analysis we are basically the motto opportunity and threats analysis and basically the strength and weakness. Now PESTEL frameworks. In this PESTEL frameworks we have to what are the factors affecting the organizations, and second is your important factors related to the present context in the era to come. Then politically you have to see economical factors, social, technology, legal factors, environmental. So all the factors are important. You have to collect the data and analyze the things. So that is your part of your framework. Now external factors, evaluations, some metrics are there, that is how to pestle factors. Further, we can evaluate the things. Again, there are 5 steps are there. Listing of key external factors. What are the external factors that we have to list it out? Then assigning the weight to each factor. How much weight or value each we have to see. Then assigning the ratings of the each factors. The rate of uh, occurrence or rate of things you have to see. Then deciding a weighted score. Then you have to decide the score factor. This is some sort of evaluation part of your external factors. The some matrix is given. So this is the way you have to find it. Then some evaluation matrix is given. You can make a chart on these things. Suppose from opportunities and threats, and then you can scale it out. Some scaling is there, weight and ratings and weightage. Then based on this, you can, the typical tabular chart is there, and it is also available in the study material. You can go through this and try to understand the things. It is very easy. So explanations are there, already explained the things. Now, some of the keynotes are there. Because already you have discussed, but still meaning of these things, competitive environment. Sometimes we are confusing what's the competitive environment. So it refers to the situations which an organization faces within its specific arena of the operations. So that is the competitive environment, you can say. Now some of the self-assessment questions are there. Briefly summarize the things, understand the general environment and importance, external analysis and the relationship with the strategy formulations. Briefly explain the Bristol's framework from this unit. These expected questions like this. Then identify the industry of your choice and do a Bristol's Bristol analysis. Explain the industrial organization models. So this type of questions. Now we are the last unit we have to discuss, that is your competitive analysis. So in this unit we have to see the competitiveness. Now in this analysis we can say what are the things to identify their competitors, main things. When you are thinking about the business, so before taking the strategy, we have to see the other competitors, what they are thinking, where they are now. So first things we have to identify their competitors. Then after that, to determine their strengths and weakness, opportunities and threat also. Based on this, you can also, where you are, your standpoints, you really go for this business or not, you can really easily compare the things. So for the comparison purposes, you have to analyze their competitiveness, means their strength, their weakness, their opportunities and threats, everything are things. Even their market share also you have to see it. So need proper competitive analysis. So based on this, it is required to create your own purpose. So these are all the reference points you can see as a reference point. All are primary or secondary, whatever way you have to take it there. Or then it should be a superior, because the idea is your product or your strategy should be superior from there. Then only you can sustain in the market. Idea is this. Then group strategies. To understand the group strategies. Group strategy is not a formal. Sometimes you have to, as a group, you have to see what are the strategies going on. Then another part is important for the competitive analysis. Then you learn the different aspect of the competitive analysis. We have to learn categorically what are the aspects of this. Then focus on Porter's five forces model that I have to explain. There are some Porter's 5.3, unit number 5.3. There is Porter's five forces framework. That is a very important framework. Based on this, you can analyze the competitive analysis are based on this. Then explain the competitive profile matrix. So this is the way we can outline of the particular units, and now slowly have to go inside. So main thing we have to analyze the issues, identifying the issues of the things, then clarify the things and analyze the what are the problems that you have to see it. Now let's see structure as given, that is a strength, weakness, opportunities, threats. The reasons you have to identify. The proper competitive analysis is needed basically. Now some reasons we have to identify what are the reasons behind it. Difficult to identify the competitors. So because some of the times it is difficult because the competitors, they are reluctant to upload or reluctant to show their profit and some of the informations in their websites. So that's why it is most of the organizations do not make the sales and profit informations in the public domain because sometimes they are not, because of the competitive reasons. So thus it is important to understand the forces which are important for a competitive analysis. Some of the factors are there. The factors, the competitors' objectives and the strategies that you should know. Competitors' strength and weakness, as I said. Then competitors' response towards the external factors. Competitors' vulnerability to alternative strategies to other organizations. Threat to the competitors, supplier and the distributor relationships, what the relations they have, because you have to penetrate in the market. So that's why you have to look very carefully others competitors market, their suppliers, the distributors, what type of relation they have. It may needed to enter, you have to propagate, you have to advertise the things through the social media or something so that you can have a different relationship, you can build up your relationships. So first of all, you have to identify what type of relations they have. Trends of sale and profit ranking of the major competitors. So then all these things are keeping in mind before the competitive analysis. Now Proster's 5 forces frameworks. Competitive analysis is one of the most critical parts of an organization's strategic plan. This involves identifying the strategies of the competitors to assess their strengths and the weakness, and thereby you're evaluating them. Proper evaluations of a competitor's strategy helps the organizations in establishing a unique service positions. It is product or services. Now models, we have to discuss about the Haradhan models. As per the figures as given, that is your rivals were among the competitors in the industries, potential entrants, what type of entrants are already potentially they are already in the market. Then or maybe the new entrants are maybe coming. Bargaining and substitute products, then your bargaining power of the suppliers is also important. What you can capture your market on supplier basically, you have to focus on the supplier basically rather than the customer initially, because you have to first things that the supplier has to be convinced. Bargaining power of the buyers. So all these 5 factors are independent of each other. So pressures from one direction can trigger up changes in other, which is capable of the shifting of the sources of the competition. So basic formation of the total Proster's 5 forces framework is there. That is the framework. And now you have to see what the way it is the process, what are the way it is action. I mean, activities. Potential entrants. That is a basically threat sometimes because new entrants are there in the industry competitors. You see. So this is the first part. Potential entrants you have to see what are the threats and entrants. Second thing, bargaining power of the suppliers. And third is your buyer's side, bargaining power. And fourth is the threat of the or substitute products or the services. And finally, all the encompasses, basically the industry competitors are encompasses of all these four things. So this is the model, your Porter's 5 forces model. Now there are some strategy group is there. Now strategy group is basically the group together for the purpose of the improving your analysis and understanding the competitive within their industries. Not from the formal group, as I say. Then strategy groups are just your conceptual clusters to facilitate the analysis. Competitive intelligence. It is the information which is relevant to strategy formulations regarding the environmental context within which a business organization competes. Now scenario planning. Now planning we heard now is the scenario planning. Scenario resembles to a set of stories because this is a written or the spoken build around the carefully constructed the plots, and they present the alternative images instead of extrapolating the current trends from the present. So planning is very important, and scenario planning in this case it is very effective. So scenario planning helps the decision makers. Say, yes, this is the scenario is going on. You can take this decision. So the real pictures are, you can navigate the things basically easily. Identify the ranges of the potential, where the potential customers and the impact of these things, evaluate responses. Accordingly, manage both the positive and negative possibilities can be manageable. Then proactive measures can be possible. If we talking about the scenario planning, where the proactive measure can be possible to take for the future course of actions. That's why it is needed. Now, scenario planning is your energy producing business, organizations, and the environment it faces. Innovation and the value creations can happen. People with ability to act effectively. Then your energy situations and the vision of the organizations can be aligned, and it will create early breakthroughs in perception and understanding, allowing the business organization to get grip of the new environment. So the advantage is all are, the questions come, what are the advantage or what are the benefits of these things, scenario planning, then you have to describe all these points. Now, social media competitive analysis, in short, is a SMCA, is a way to stay ahead of the competitors. Because anyhow, you have to understand the new opportunities and the potential threats, so that it will help for these things. Social media competitive analysis can be helped. So you know the competitors in the social media, then understand the social media platforms of the competitors, what they are using, then social strategy of the competitors, finding the gaps, what are the gaps are there. That if you feel some of the gaps are there, that is your opportunity. You can search the opportunity from this gap in itself. Identifying the social threats. What are the threats are there? Now, some of the steps are there for social media competitive analysis. There are so many steps can be used. First thing, determine the competitors, then information gathering, then your SWOT analysis, and up-to-date information. So all are the steps to go ahead for social media competitive analysis. Now, now competitive profile matrix. In short, is a CPM, a strategic management tools, is used for the comparing the competitors. What are the competitors are there? You have to compare the things, and highlights the organizational strength and weak points relative to its competitors. Because all these things, such research is required, analysis, so that your strategy will be superior of that things. This tool is used to understand the external environment is a better way. This involves 4 steps. What are the things? The first thing is your identify the critical success factors, CSFs, assign the weight to reach critical success, assign the ratings to each organization, These all are the involved steps are there. Now, some of the tabulated chart is there. So suppose, for example, you are comparing this competitor 1, competitor 2, competitor 3. Then you have to rate the things, score, rating, score. From this chart at a glance, you can understand where the things are there, where the gaps are there. You can identify the gaps, and accordingly you can start your strategy. Think process can be started. So online advertisement, market share, how much they have, IT facilities, what the competitor 1 they have right now. So from this profile, so there's a matrix profile. You can see where the things are, where your opportunity and where your gaps, or you can see the weakness are there. You can some of the things you can see the competitor 1 is good, some areas lacking. Competitor 2, some areas superior and some areas lacking. So you have to analyze it and you have to note down the things. And finally, you have to make your alternatives, where the triggering points to enter in the market. So some of the key points are there. Keywords, that is bargaining power, it is decided by the relative strengths of the weakness between the 2 players or the partners, that is your bargaining power. Learning, or we can say the experience effect. It suggests that as the organizations increases their productivity, they grow more efficient, and this brings them cost effective. Then your switching cost. These are the expenses, financial or the psychological, which is customers incurs in switching from one seller to another. So that is the some area where the expenses are there that you have to see. Then concentration in the industry. You have to the industry is largely dominated by a few large organizations, is highly concentrated industries. So for penetrating the things, you have to consider the market. You have to see, if you start in a very small way, definitely it will be very costly. The cost effective is also you have to see. If it's a very big company, then other things, initially advertisement cost, your promotional cost, every cost will be a little bit high, because as you are now new, you're launching in the market. So all this has to be considered. How long you can persist, how come you can survive initial 5 months or 6 months. So then after that your card may be increased, your share market will be increased. So all these things are very important when you are the part of your competitive analysis. Now, some of these self-assessment questions are there. You explain the competitive environment for any industry and discuss the external analysis framework of the industry. Then you explain briefly the 5 factors, 5 forces, your framework, and analyze the competitive environment of the industry of your choice. Then some short notes may come. That is, short notes are your strategic groups and the scenario planning, as I already described. Then how does the nature of markets determine the competitive your rivalry between the business organizations? Then explain your suitable examples. We need some examples. Now another thing, I have to highlight some of the things. When you are answering any questions, what should be the content should be? Because most of the times we are forget about this that structure of the answer, how to answer it. For any questions, first things you have to give some introductions. Then after that you have to suppose a tabular form in your for example your strategic group and your scenario. First things you have to give a definitions. What the meaning of these things? Maybe 2 or 3 lines like this. Then after that you have to give some structural way or some process is there, or maybe some features are there. So that you have to give a breakup of these things. And finally you have to give some conclusion or something wiki example. So most of the cases we are not answering the questions wiki examples. So examples in a management courses, you see the example is very important. Whatever your experience, what you are getting, you try to develop some of the example. Example is very important. So it will create a weightage of your marks, and it seems to be a very good answer like this. So the self-assessment questions also help to understand the units and these things. So when this is the way you have to study. First things you have to take the units. What are the contents of the units, outline of the units, what are the topics as already defined, and all the topics individually you have to see, subsection, subunits, suppose 5, 5.1, 5.2, 5.3. So all these way you have to try to understand the things and prepare your notes and based on these questions like this way. So this is the way I think today I've already covered up most of the which I already have assigned. That is unit number 3, 4, and 5, all the things. So in the next session also, this is the way I have to proceed, or we have to go for assignment number unit number 6, the internal analysis. So far we have external, and now next session we have to discuss about the internal analysis. This is based on these outlines we have to discuss what are the resources, critical success, the value chain framework, comparisons of the standards, again SWOT analysis, internal factors, evaluation of the matrix. So similar way, the way the unit 5 we have explained the external analysis, same thing now internal analysis also required. Then this is the way we have to proceed. So I think today we have discussed about the block number unit number 3. That is your just only one of the revise the recap of the things. Strategy in the global context. In the global context, what are the strategies should be there, and what the area we have to look after. Then unit number 4 we have discussed the external environment, that we have to discuss already, where we have seen a lot of analysis, what are the factors, what are the influences, opportunities, threats, and some of your how to assessment of things. And finally, unit number 5, we have discussed about your environmental analysis, where I identify then your some of the important competitive analysis, how to do these things, and Porter's 5 force models that we have already discussed. So, okay, I think now now we're looking forward for the next sessions. So, okay, thank you very much. Thank you.